Welcome, everybody, to the African American Women in Cinema Educational Series. I'm your host, Roger Maloney, CEO of Ufront Media. This series is presented by Ufront Media, and Ufront Media is a company that curates and creates content to highlight entrepreneurs, people in entertainment, and various other people of color, and giving them an opportunity to be upfront. Thank you for joining us today. The African American Education Series will be taking place the last Friday of each month. That's right, the last Friday of each month, where you can find details on the next series at www.AAWIC.org. Boy, today we got a special guest for you. This guest was so special, we made sure her lighting was perfect, because when you get your Oscar, I don't want nobody to say and forget to thank her for all the information she's about to give you guys tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Roger. Thank you for
this is a master thespian here, and I want to say it's great pleasure that I introduce to you the legendary, iconic Adilah Barnes. Now, Adilah, should I say Miss Barnes? I just want to make sure I pronounce. How would you like to be addressed?
Well, my name is actually pronounced Adilah.
Adilah.
So you can either say Adilah or you can say Miss Barnes. If you say Miss Barnes, you can't go wrong.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Barnes.
Okay.
And let me give you a little brief background of her experience as being one of the veteran actors in Hollywood. She has mastered the art of utilizing all her many creative skills while having true staying power to herself and maintaining integrity. She has guest starred in numerous TV shows and is probably best known for her 7-series role as Anne Marie on ABC's Roseanne. And also, she's been a guest star in TV credits includes NCIS, that's my show. Shameless is also one of my favorite shows.
Ding, ding, ding.
That family on Shameless is something else. Anyway, her feature film credits include playing opposite Sandra Bullock in Murder by the Numbers. That's another good movie. You got to definitely check that out. The Universal blockbuster Erin Brockovich. That's also a great film with Julia Roberts. Love that film. And also, as an acting instructor and coach, Miss Barnes' celebrity clients include Fred Payne, Florence LaRue, Toni Braxton, Jada Pinkett Smith, Kim Whitley, Benjamin Bratt, Don D.C. Curry, who was hilarious, by the way, Chris Brown, and Lorraine Lane, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Barnes is in the building. Miss Barnes, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Roger, for having me and helping me adjust my lighting.
That's right. That's right. And that's what, and it came out perfect. You know, and anytime you on a movie set, you got to make sure everything is perfect before you activate. And
we're all a team. In production, we're all a team. Neither can do anything without the other.
That's right. I have 2 questions for you, and then I'm going to allow you to present all the wonderful information you have for anyone who wants to break into Hollywood. My first question, what inspired you to write your book called On My Own Terms?
It's really a long story, and I'm a storyteller, but I'm going to try to make it really short. Basically, what happened was when I taught at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, I had one class, they gave me this book, it had dried leaves on the cover with a little note inside, everybody signed and said, this is for when you write your book. And I said, my book? That was so far away from anything that I had in mind in terms of literary pursuits that it just seemed far away. And then at some point I said, you know what? I think it's now time to write that book. So initially, because they said an acting book, I felt kind of limited. I said, what can I say that Stanislavski, Udo Hagen, Viola Spolin, Lee Strasberg, all the rest have said? What can I say that's different? Those are the masters. So I asked a friend of mine, Brandy, I said, Brandy, you know, I want to write this acting book, but I don't know how I can say anything differently. And I also want to talk about touring my one-woman show. She said, you can do that too. And I said, eureka. So it's really an acting book, but it's through my journey. And that's how I was able to include everything that I wanted to in the book. So that was the inspiration. My students at ACT, the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, and the focal point of really using my life my journey as an actor as the backdrop in terms of jewels that I hope people will garner from the book.
Wow, that's amazing. I also noticed that you are an amazing acting instructor and coach to some major celebrities. Now, tell us about your transition into helping other actors become great.
Well, I don't know that I can take credit for that. And before we move on, I just forgot to say one thing very important about the book. And that is that in June of 2009, Essence Magazine named it #3 behind President Obama's 2 books. So I really want to say that. I want to thank Essence Magazine. And I just want to acknowledge that I had that honor to be behind him. So as one person said, if you were #3 behind President Obama's 2 books, you really were #1. You can't beat the president.
You can't beat the
That's
president.
right. I was #1 that month. That's right. So anyway, back to your question about working with celebrities. Reframe your question again for me.
The question is, what was your experience like working as an acting coach, working with such high profile celebrities?
You know what? It was really a blessing. And for each one, it was a totally different experience. With Toni Braxton, we became very, very close, very humble. And with every single one of them that I worked with, what made the relationship very special and real, authentic, valuable, was that each of them came to me because they wanted something I had, as opposed to me as actor going to them to ask something of them. So it placed the relationship in a very different place because I had something that each of them wanted. And so I was able to share my craft, things that I've learned along the way to enhance the work that each of them was doing at that particular time.
Wow, that's amazing. So Ms. Barnes, I'm gonna turn over the class to you and you can begin your amazing presentation. Listen, I'm ready. I got notes. I got my notes ready. Look, Ms. Barnes, look how many pens I got ready.
Oh my, if one goes out, you got another one. You are ready, Roger. So anyway, let us start at the beginning. I got my little notes here, so I'm going to refer to them to make sure that I don't miss anything. And I know that at about 7:25, we're going to open up for questions. So I'll try to scoot along, but there's so much to say in terms of the subject, which is, of course, so you want to come to Hollywood. So again, I want to thank the African American Women in Cinema for inviting me. I want to thank you as our host, Roger Maloney. And so I want to jump right in. And the first thing that I want to address is, what is a person's image and expectation of Hollywood? So when one's thinking about coming to Hollywood, what is your image of what it is if you've never been? And what is your expectation of what you're going to find, so that you have a sense of the lay of the land before you get there? And I just took a look at some of the stats. I wanted to see where things are. And these were the ones I found. They may not be the most recent, but I think they give us a good idea. And what I found is that 56% of male actors, 56% of actors are male. And of that number, 62.3 are Anglo, 14.4 are African American. So I think that's really important to see that. Who's getting the work? It's the males. It's the Anglo males. We get some too, and we're getting more, but it's not really equitable. So people need to know that before they come, the lay of the land. I also found out that the hourly pay for an actor is anywhere between $17 and $21.88. There's not a lot of money in it, not unless you really hit the lottery with it. So people need to know that. Keep your day job. And also, the average age for an actor is 38 years old. So a lot of people who come to LA, they got a little bit under their belt, so they're competitive when they get here. They don't just come at 18 with nothing and they're green. And also on TV series, 74.6% of actors are Anglo, 13.3 are African American, though it's getting higher. But again, we can see that it's not equitable. And in terms of women, 41% are leading actors, Anglo, and 30.9 are women of color. Now that's all of color, not just us, African American. So I think it's important to have a sense of the world of Hollywood before someone gets here, and so that they really see it clear-eyedly before they arrive. And I think too, it's important to ask oneself, why do you want to come to Hollywood? Why? Why are you coming? Are you coming to pursue your career in film and TV? Are you coming for a change of scenery and you felt like, oh, I want to go to California? Why not Los Angeles? See if you're seeing what you have to make it in this market. So you want to test it out. Is that a reason why you're coming? Are you coming to become a star? Well, I always tell my students that stars are in the sky. And fame is really transitory. You may have it one moment, and we can see that. We can see that with actors. We can see that with musicians. We can see that with vocalists. We can see that someone can be really hot today and very cold tomorrow. So it's transitory. You can't count on that. And also, only 0.04 actors, that's not even 1%, are famous. So if one is coming for fame, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen. It can, but it may not. So I believe that it's more important to think about being a working actor than being a famous actor, because a lot of famous actors are drawing unemployment because they're not working anymore. So it's really, for me, and it's always been for me, being a working actor. It doesn't matter if anybody knows your name or not. Are you working? So those are some of the things that I think that people need to think about. And also, some actors think, well, I'm so talented. I just know if I just get to Hollywood, everybody's going to see my talent. I'm going to get work. I'm going to be famous. All these great things are going to happen. But I really believe that talent probably is about number 5 on the list. It's not about talent necessarily. So in my mind, I see number 1 is having a good business sense. Do you know how to map out a plan? Do you have your team that surrounds you? Have you really figured out how you're going to approach Hollywood? So the business sense, number 1. Number 2, because there are a lot of people who are not necessarily talented, but they figure that out. And that leads me to number 2, your marketing ability to brand yourself. We can think about a lot of the people in the industry that are doing quite well. They're very well known, but they're not necessarily the most talented. However, they figured out how to brand themselves to convince others that they are worthy of whatever they are receiving. And then I think number 3 is relationships. Relationships, relationships, relationships. And that's true in any field, but it's particularly true in terms of the industry. And then lastly, I would say, is having a plan of action to make it happen. So then so that's number 4, and then number 5, we go back to talent. So you got to have a plan, and you got to work the plan. It's not going to happen by you just stepping into LA and saying, I'm here. You got to know where you're going. You've got to have some kind of direction. And Bill Ball, who was the founder of the American Conservatory Theater, I think he said it best. He said, he came to one of our classes one time when I was a student there, and he said, fame is more trouble than it's worth. I never forgot that. Fame is more trouble than it's worth. People think, those who want fame, that it's just going to be so glorified. It's going to be all of these wonderful things. And it is that for many, but it comes with a price tag. You're going to lose your privacy. You may be in a fishbowl. You're going to be fair game for the media, tabloids, paparazzi. all of that. You're going to be surrounded by yes men. So oftentimes people lose sense of who they are because everybody they've hired is there to say yes, yes, and really build their egos, but not tell them the truth necessarily. So those are some of the things I think that a person really needs to think about before they come. In my case, I came, I was established already in the Bay Area. I had reached as far as I felt I could go in the Bay Area. And I came with a show. So I was fortunate. I didn't just come to Los Angeles. I came the most secure way an actor can come. I came with a hit show. We had done August Wilson's play, Joe Turner's Come and Gone at ACT, broke box office records, came to Los Angeles, LA Theater Center. We had a relationship with that theater, broke box office records there. Everybody was coming. Roscoe Lee Brown hit our cast. Anna Devere Smith was in the cast. I mean, it was phenomenal. So I came in the most secure way that one can come, and that is to come with a vehicle. Something that you're coming with, where people can see you and appreciate your work. And I also came with a strong set of tools. I had all of my union cards, Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, Actors Equity Association. I had an agent in Los Angeles. I came with a successful show. I came the best possible way you can come. I'm so blessed that I came that way. Most actors do not. So I give gratitude for that. And before I came, a longtime friend of mine, Danny Glover, he said to me, I called him up. I said, Danny, I got this audition with a big agency in LA. Somebody set it up for me and I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I don't know LA. I'm established here in the Bay Area, but now I'm talking about going to the big pond. And what do I need to know, Danny? And Danny said, Adilah, just remember that your theater background is your calling card. And also remember that people respond to sincerity. I never forgot that. So when I met with this big agency that when you walked in the office, it just smelled like millions of dollars. And all these agents in the suits, and they're all surrounding me and speaking in third person as if I wasn't in the room. I remembered what Danny said, that small voice said, people respond to sincerity. So I just said it. I'm new here. I don't know how Los Angeles works. I want to be here, and I feel that I have come with a body of work. I've earned my right to be here, but I really don't know this city. People responded because I told the truth. I was sincere. I didn't know it. I didn't go in there trying to act like I knew LA. I didn't know it. I just said it. And people responded to that authenticity. So Danny gave me some words I have never forgotten, and I've always passed them on to my students. People respond to sincerity. And if you already have done your work and you come here with your tool sets, you will come with a calling card. So the question is, well, what's in that toolbox? What kind of tools in the tool set? Training. Have you trained? Have you taken acting classes? Have you gone to a conservatory? Have you taken workshops? What have you done to prepare yourself in terms of training so you know the rules of being on stage or in film, TV series, how each of those mediums, which are very different, what qualities do you need to have? What training do you need for each of them if you can get them before you get to LA? If you can, have your union membership cards so that you have the protection of your unions. In the old days, when I got mine, Screen Actors Guild was separate from AFTRA. Now, of course, the two have merged together, so it's one. And then Actors Equity, of course, is for stage actors. So AFTRA traditionally has been for TV and film, and SAG has been exclusively for film. So if you can get your union cards, that helps. You've got the protection. Then when you start submitting to agents, they can see that you're already a union actor. You've paid your dues. Presumably there's some level of professionalism. Make sure your resume is current. Maybe make sure you got a resume and that it's current. Know what the LA format is for a resume. There's a particular format that you need for a resume. I can look at a resume and I can tell if the person really, really, really has done their homework. And some resumes I look at and I go, oh my God, nobody's going to take them seriously. They don't even know how to do it properly in terms of the resume. There's an order. You've got to have your vital information about yourself. And then you're going to put film first and TV's next, and maybe it's commercial, maybe it's voiceover. You want to put your training, special skills, all those things go in a very particular order. You got columns. I mean, there's a way to do it that shows that you know what you're doing and that you are professional in terms of how you present yourself. And then also make sure that you have a headshot and that it's a current one. You don't want to come to LA with a photo that was taken when you were 18 and now you're 26. You probably look different. And if you're not quite sure about how to go about that, just look up some of the actors who are working. Look at some of their headshots. Look at some of the resumes that you can find on them in terms of formatting, perhaps. Look up some of the photographers that you see who are shooting a lot of professional actors. Who are they? Take a look at some of their clients. How do they work with the shots that they shoot for them? What kind of looks do they get? And you want to make sure that when you do, when you come to LA, that you have a photo shoot in Los Angeles so that you're with a photographer that knows how to shoot for Los Angeles. Make sure you got different looks, maybe 4 or 5 looks when you go into the studio that you can use for different purposes. Also, another tool, a demo tape, or what some call an actor's reel, showing your diversity of roles. What have you done? And it really needs to be film and TV roles. You don't want to put commercials with TV and film. They don't go together. And you don't want to put industrials with TV and film. I mean, there are rules about how to do a demo tape or an actor's reel. And you want it to be professionally edited so it looks good, so it's slick, so it represents you well. And another thing is to ask the question, how prepared am I with all of the things I just stated, but also, do you have a place to live? Where are you going to stay? Are you going to stay with your auntie? Are you going to stay in a hostel? Are you going to try to find a place when you get to LA? You already have a place before you get here, so you don't have that stress. Employment. What are you going to do to make money? Do you have a job where you can transfer to Los Angeles? If not, what kind of skills do you have for a day job? Because you might need one for a while. Have you waited tables? Have you been a waitress? Have you done temp work? Do you have skills for an office if you have to do temp work? Have you done hospitality in other ways? So all of these things need to be taken into account. Also, having a savings account. Why would you come to Los Angeles broke? That doesn't make sense. That adds to the stress. Wait until you're ready. I would suggest 2 or 3 months of savings before you even get to LA. So you got money for rent, food, personal needs, if you have a car, gas, all of those things. Which leads me to, do you drive? If not, you might want to think about going to a driving school and getting your driver's license. LA is very spread out. You may have 2 auditions in one day and they're clear across town. So even though you can do public transportation, how are you going to make it if you got an hour between the 2 auditions? If you have and so you got to have a current driver's license, obviously. And you want to make sure that you have a reliable car so it's not breaking down every other day. You want to make sure you're insured. All of the things that seem like they're common sense, but I'm saying them because I want to make sure people are thinking about them. Make sure you have a good support system. Do you have family in Los Angeles? Do you have friends? Do you have friends of friends? Or somebody's told you about who to look up when you get there, or told them about you before you come, so that you have a support system. Because in the early days, it could be very hard, very different from where you're coming from. And you're going to need that anchoring. You're going to need that support. You're going to feel like you need to know that people are there for you. Holistic self-care, having a spiritual base. If you go to church, find a church right away that feels like it's the right church to go to on Sundays or during the week, whatever it is that you need to feed yourself spiritually. Make sure you're in relatively good health. You're going to have enough stresses. So you want to make sure when you come, you really are on top of your game in terms of taking care of yourself. For me, I do meditation, I do yoga, I journal, I exercise, I have a good diet, I'm a vegan. So you want to be mindful of what you place in your body temple. All of this contributes to being in Hollywood. You can't really compartmentalize it. It really needs to be holistic when you look at making that move and how you're going to do it so you're successful. What time is it, Roger? Oh, is it time to stop?
No, we can keep going to 7:35. We're good.
Okay,
Sarah,
so
we good?
So just go like this when you want me to wrap it up.
Okay.
I can be long-winded, but I also want to make sure that I've touched upon points that I think are important.
No, this is good. And I'm going to show you how much notes I take. Watch.
Wow, I'm impressed, Roger. Yay. So I would say also, before coming, contact those you know in Los Angeles or those you've been referred to before you come, so that people know you're coming and they welcome you with open arms and with guidance. Maybe you're going to need temporary lodging. See who can help you out in terms of finding a place. And if it's going to be temporary, make sure you let them know how long you're talking about. You don't want anybody kicking you out. And you want to also make sure that you get advice from those who are either already here in the industry or who used to live. When I say here, I'm in Atlanta right now, in Los Angeles. And you want to make sure that you get leads from people in terms of the lodging, in terms of jobs, in terms of classes, workshops, finding a coach, getting a manager, an agent, all of those things. And one way to work, in addition to the things that I talked about, the temp work and hospitality and what have you, it's not a bad idea. I've never done this. Well, I did it one time in the Bay Area, and that's how I got a union card. So I only had to do extra work one time, and it got me a union card, got me an AFTRA. But extra work is not a bad idea, because if you do extra work, or what we now call also background work, where you're not speaking, no lines, we just see you briefly, is an opportunity to learn about the business, study the different elements on a set. Who are the grips? Who's on camera? What is the director doing? What are the writers doing? Learn what you can on the set for free doing extra work, and meet other actors. Find out what they know and share with them what you know. So you're not just a taker, but you're also a giver. And that can be invaluable, absolutely invaluable. Watch the leads. Who are the regulars on the show if it's a series? How do they conduct themselves? How are people responding to them? What can you learn from them in terms of their chops? Take advantage of the opportunity if you end up doing the extra work. Auditioning. It used to be in the old days that we would go in for auditions for TV and film, and we'd have the producers, we'd have the writer, we'd have the casting people. We would have all of those elements. And now, even before the pandemic, LA had begun to do self-taping. I remember in the old days, I used to come down here to Atlanta and people were talking, oh, I'm self-taping. I'm like, self-taping? Wow. We don't do that in Los Angeles.
Wow.
We have producer session. We got the producer, the director, the writer, the casting people. We don't do self-tapes.
Wow.
And then things began to shift. So now, even before the pandemic, casting directors began to ask actors to self-tape. So now, at that time, it was sometimes. Now it's exclusively because of the pandemic. So that means you got to either have a good camera and a setup, lighting and everything where you can self-tape yourself, background that you need.
You become your own production studio.
That's right. And we're making the job of the casting people easy and the producers, because all they got to do is play the tapes back when the casting people give it to them, sitting there with their popcorn, discussing people. Rewind, let me see her again.
Nice.
And we're not even in the room, right?
Ms. Barnes,
so you either got to take, huh?
What I wanted to tell you is that we have 2 minutes left, but
okay.
I love it. Let me show you your notes. Boom. Bam. Look.
Wow.
I got fame. I got one that says, fame is more trouble than it's worth. That's hot. Here, come with a vehicle. Where you going? You can't walk to your audition. That's
good for you.
Here's another one. Come with a strong set of tools.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people think they could just like ad-lib this stuff, and they have no training. They're not going to no workshops, and
and they are destined to fail.
Okay.
Because they didn't come prepared. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm just going to make it really quick and just say, make sure you have your building blocks when you come. If you're trying to build that reel, do student films. Great way to get your tape. Build relationships, not contacts. Contacts are superficial sometimes. Relationships can last and can see you through and guide you. Find a mentor, somebody who can guide you, that you respect, that knows more than you. Avoid the naysayers, the ones who say, oh, you're going to Hollywood, you're not going to make it. Who you think you are? Don't listen to the naysayers. They didn't come. Set your goals. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Learn, learn, learn. Train, train, train. Read biographies, autobiographies of those you respect and admire. Listen to actors in their interviews. Observe human behavior. See plays. Watch movies. Explore other art forms, galleries, museums, opera, dance, what have you. And in closing, my advice, operate from a place of self-knowing. Don't try to be someone you're not, to be liked or to gain favor. It's fake and people see through it. Be who you are. That is sufficient. Come from a place of integrity. Reserve the right to always say no. If it's not right for you, you don't have to do anything. You can say thank you, but no thank you. Ask for what you feel you are worth. Pay everything else. And if you don't feel worthy, you're going to set yourself up. So you must feel worthy of what you say you want. So that's all I want to say. And you can put in the chat room how people can contact me if they'd like individual consultation on career development, auditioning preparation, character development through monologues, or any other ways that I might be able to support them. So they can go to my website at www.adilahbarnes.com, and they'll be able to get to me through there. And yes, they can.
Ms. Barnes, I thought all those points were amazing. I just want to open it up a little bit. I'm not sure if Jared wants to ask a question really quick. Jared, you're more welcome to definitely do that. But the amount of notes I took, the part that really stuck out to me is what Danny Glover told you. People respond to sincerity. That's interesting because most people have a mindset of kill or be killed. I'm going to get this part over you. And you just flip that on its head and you're saying, don't go that way. Sincerity is going to really make your career track focus. And I want you to talk about a little bit about integrity in Hollywood. How did you maintain that for so many years?
By saying no when I needed to, and also by taking the risk of just stepping out to do what I felt I needed to do. I talked about this in the interview with Tara that we had that was broadcast last night, that there have been occasions where I've gotten scripts and I changed the wording. You know, a bank manager one time, they had her saying ain't, I changed it to aren't. You know, I'll change scripts a little bit. Usually I can get away with it. Every now and then I get called on it, but ultimately I get what I want. And you know, there's so many stories. People would really have to go to my book to get some of the stories. On My Own Terms, One Actor's Journey is where they can go, and they can find that if they go to my website, and I'll be glad to autograph a copy of the book. So, you know, just being true to myself, and if in my spirit, I don't feel something is right for me and I'm not comfortable, more than likely it's not right for me. And that's part of my way of checking my integrity.
And that connects to your being one of your rules, spiritually healthy.
That's right. That's right.
I was thinking about that, Ro, because that quote, because I was thinking about everybody actor who's played the Joker has to go in a deep, dark place. And how do you spiritually like come back from that sort of thing? Like it took out Heath Ledger because, you know, he went a little bit too deep and he couldn't sleep. A lot of people go, like, I know Jared Leto goes really deep in his roles. He goes super deep. And I'm like, wow, how do you come back from playing a psycho like that? It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that as an actor, the way to approach those characters is to try to find the humanity of the character. So if you're playing the bad guy, you don't go for the bad, you try to find the good so that you find the humanity. And also, what can you find in the character that really relates to you personally?
I have a question for you from Jared. He says, how would you suggest an actor search out a mentor in an authentic way?
There are a number of ways to do it. As a teacher, I would tell my students that that would be one way that I think that they might be able to find one, reaching out to, say, celebrities. And so it's interesting. Lawrence Fishburne responded to one of my students, and so did Matthew Modine. And it's because they wrote a letter to them, they got to them somehow, and they actually responded and said, how might I serve you? And so that brings me to the next point, which is, if you're going to seek a mentor, you need to know what you're asking for, because they're going to ask you. The one who Matthew Modine responded to, when Matthew said, well, how can I help you? What do you need? He was like a deer and, you know, with lights. He didn't know what to say. So you got to know, what do you want from them? Do you want one conversation a month? Do you want to have one meal a month where it's on you, you pay for it? Do you want to have one Zoom meeting a month? Do you want one email conversation a month? What is it that you want from them? What do you hope to gain, so that they know knowledgeably what they're either agreeing to or saying, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. So you need to know what you're asking for if you're looking for a mentor. You can't just say, I want a mentor. What is a mentor to you, and what do you need? And the other thing that I've said to my students is, be sure to tell them, any that say I'll do it, is, I know I can't bring to the table equally. I don't have what you have. I'm asking you to share with me what you have, but I give you my word. If you will be my mentor, I will pass on to another.
I like that. That's good. I have another question for you. And this question is coming from Tara herself. She says, should an actor start putting a time frame on how long they should pursue being an actor? That's a great question.
On how long being an actor?
Yeah, because some people say, you know, there are certain people that I'm going to be an actor, but then they have family members that says, listen, I'm giving you 1 year. Or let's say, you know, young actors, I'm giving you 1 year to go do what you want to do. After that year's up, you're going to be a doctor. So how long should someone put
I really think it depends on the person. I also feel that if an actor wants to be an actor, regardless of what your family or anybody else says, if that's what you want to do and that's where your passion lies, you need to be true to that and be able to say to them, I'm sorry, that's what I want to do and I'm going to do it. I don't know that you can time frame it, but I think when I talked about timelining earlier, like 1 month, 6 months, 3 months, what are your goals? I think for some, it might be a healthy thing to say, after a year, I'm going to reevaluate how things are going here in Hollywood. Not being an actor, but in Hollywood. I'm going to reevaluate after a year or 6 months. I'm going to see how things are going, and then I'm going to make a decision. I think you have to be in the game long enough to give yourself a chance. So you got to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. So it really depends on the person. I know Eddie Murphy, when he was on Saturday Night Live, he said, hey, if I'm not a millionaire in a year, I'm giving this up. And he made $1 million. Wow. And he made $1 million.
He made $1 million.
That was his goal.
He made $1 million.
And he had a timeline.
Where can people purchase your book? Is it on your website? Can they go to?
It's on my website at www.adilahbarnes.com. You may want to put that in the chat room.
Got it. And next question I wanted to definitely ask you is, who do you look when you have a time to look at actors? Who are your favorite actors that you love to watch them work?
There are really a number of them. Cicely Tyson and Sidney Poitier were my idols growing up. Going to the movies and seeing them, it was like, wow. And in my book, I talk about at least a few of the occasions that I've been in the company of Mr. Sidney Poitier, and I've actually been in the company of Miss Cicely Tyson, and I didn't get to meet her. I was trying, I couldn't get to her, but those are two for sure. I really enjoy watching Morgan Freeman, Viola Davis, Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep is amazing.
Yeah, there are just so many. So Robert De Niro.
De Niro was good. De Niro's always good.
He's always good, and he's always different.
Always good, Ms. Barnes. I love him. Al Pacino is my guy.
Al Pacino, we can put him on. I mean, the list is so long. We're bound to leave out names, but yes, we can add him to the list too.
What would you say to inspiring actors now? From, let's say someone, here's a great question. What would you say to someone who wants to be an inspiring actor? They're working in a career, but they want to quit that job and become an actor.
Don't give up your day job until you have a little bit of security and got some chops and feel like you're in a place where you can do that. I wouldn't just quit my job unless I knew that I had savings, I had some degree of success in my career. I'd have to have some kind of stability. I wouldn't just haphazardly and flightily just make a decision like that. We have to be wise too.
I think that I love what you said. One of the things that really stood out to me, fame is worth more trouble. Fame is more trouble than it's worth. Fame is more trouble than it's worth. And
I never forgot that.
That's powerful.
Isn't that powerful?
Yeah, because when you said it, I was like, that's right. I was thinking about instant, I was thinking about Michael Jackson.
Oh my God.
I was thinking about
couldn't go anywhere unless he had on disguises.
Right. Who else is currently going through it? Think about all those child actors. The actor from Different Strokes.
A lot of them, when their time is up, remember I talked about fame being transitory. Sometimes after they don't have that anymore, it's like, what do I do with my life? And some of them resort to drugs and other things that they, resort to numb themselves and numb the feeling. And so you really, really, really have to have a strong sense of who you are and a strong support system.
I think, thank you for sharing that, because I thought I loved all the nuggets of truth that you shared, because we see it all the time on Entertainment Tonight. I always ask questions, what have happened to this actor? What have happened to this actor? Do you, apply for a job at Chase when you're not hot anymore, or Citibank? You always having that backup plan. That's why I really love how I like what Regina King is becoming in terms of.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing. I'm so proud of her.
That one night in Miami was amazing.
I've got a copy of it. I haven't looked at it yet, but I'm going to. I brought it down here so I can see it.
You gotta watch it. There's a conversation.
I'm going to.
between Malcolm
I'm going to.
Sam Cooke. That was amazing.
She is amazing.
Yes.
50% of her crew are female. She's committed to that. And she challenged others when she got up and got one of her awards. She said, 50% of my cast and crew, they are female. And she challenged others to do the same. She is amazing.
And another person is, I think that's amazing. Tyler Perry is amazing.
Isn't he something? Not only does he know what it's like to not have. I have a friend who knew him in the early days. He used to sleep on her sofa. At one point, he was homeless. So he knows what it's like to be on the other end of the spectrum.
Wow.
And he has given back. He talks about how his mother, he'd come home sometimes and people would be in all the rooms. He's like, well, who's staying here now? And she'd be like, they need a place to stay, baby.
Wow. And
he says, so that's how I was raised. So he gives back.
And I love how people made fun of him for playing a role based upon the women of his life. I'm talking about Medina, but the only reason he played it is because the actor that wanted to play it couldn't be there, so he did it himself.
Is that how it originally happened?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But what I do know is that there is so much truth in that character, Medea. She is so many women I know.
We have 1 minute left, and okay. I'm going to leave the last statement to you to close us out.
I would just say that I wish everyone well that wants to come to Hollywood and wants a career, and to really give thought to some of the things I've said tonight, especially around the integrity, reserving the right to say no, believing in yourself, not allowing the naysayers to take over. Those are some of the things that I would really, really remember, and that people respond to sincerity and come prepared.
That's amazing. Ms. Barnes, thank you so much. This was amazing. Let me show you. I got notes. I got notes.
Roger, that's something. Are you planning to come to Hollywood, or are you just taking notes?
I left. Me and my family went to LA, and because we just had to get out of New York just to stand in the sun.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, when my daughters landed back in New York, they were like, this place is really dirty. It was like,
wow. See, but you don't see that unless you have something to compare to.
You don't see it. You don't see it. Ms. Barnes, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you.
All right, Tara, this is, we're gonna wrap up. So stay tuned next month, the last day of Friday of each month. This is what we do. This is a training class. It's free for you guys to build and develop and to grow. My name is Roger Maloney. On behalf of the African American Women in Cinema Festival, we wish you health, peace, and good night, everybody.